Hey guys, it's Niklas here from upgradetolife.com and welcome to this video which is called 5 Big Manifesting Mistakes Delaying Your Manifestation. Right, so over the course of years while I started to study these principles, applying these principles, helping other people achieving successes with these principles, I encountered a lot of stumbling blocks, a lot of pitfalls, and also a lot of mistakes where people simply go sideways and they make it harder for themselves than it's actually supposed to be. So with this video, I want to point out the 5 biggest things that I again and again encounter while working with people, while helping people in this community towards manifesting their desires, towards manifesting new life circumstances that are aligning with what they want to manifest, okay? So with that, let us just jump straight in and talk about these 5 mistakes, these 5 stumbling blocks in a sense, all right? So here is the first one, and that is overlooked so many times. I can't even stress this enough. This is very important, and I called it the wrong attitude, right? Simply the wrong attitude from which you manifest, right? The wrong premise from which you even start out to shift into a new state, to shift into the wish fulfilled, right? So let's talk about that. Now, this mistake looks like that people use and simply view their imagination as a tool to manipulate their reality. That is very wrong, right? Imagination is not a tool. Again, we have to translate what imagination is. Imagination is simply shifting your awareness. It's placing your awareness on something that's currently not manifested. And you do this all the time. But every time that you're not focused on what currently is, when you internally dwell in scenarios, in ideas, in visions, in hearing people internally, in inner self-talk, you are imagining. So it's not something you can turn off. You can only do this more consciously so that you consciously move towards the things that you actually do want. But if you see that as a tool, meaning you think, okay, this is my reality, right? This is the set in stone facts reality that I can't change. And I just internally do a little bit stuff to get new results externally. Then you will always be working. You will always be waiting. You will always be, in a sense, thinking that you have to manipulate something. But that's, again, the wrong premise, right? You imagine, you place your awareness on the wish fulfilled because that's simply what you can do all the time, right? You can instantly, inwardly experience the satisfaction and the wish fulfilled because that is within you. Right? That is not based on the external facts. So that's one fundamental thing, right? They say oftentimes, I'm imagining this so long so that it can finally happen externally. That's the wrong premise. If you keep suffering, if you keep working hard towards it, if you keep forcing something, which again, you cannot force something into being, that's simply literally impossible because creation is finished. So you can't force something. You can only start to align with that state where you already are it, where you already do have it. Right, so if you say, okay, I'm imagining it so that it can finally happen, that's wrong, right? Because the manifestation, like I always say, is the consequence of the wish fulfilled. So if you say, I'm imagining just to manipulate my reality so that it can finally happen at some point, you're simply delaying it infinitely, like always, all the time, right? You have to imagine for the sake of experiencing the wish fulfilled here and now. There's nothing to wait, nothing to get externally. That's the mirror, that's the consequence. Right? That is why this is the wrong attitude. If you view this imagination and your awareness and the power that you possess as a tool to manipulate something, no. You, in a sense, manipulate your internal world because that is what is real. That is where you can instantly decide where you want to be, what you want to have, and then that shows up as the reflection, right? So this is why I said here, you imagine because it happens. Again, I don't imagine so that it happens eventually, maybe in some weeks and some months. No, you imagine because it happens right now. Creation is finished. What you do imagine does exist right now, right? So imagine here and now, right? And where you are in imagination, there you are. Like Neville said, imagination is seeing with the eye of God. Where you dwell in imagination, where you dwell in consciousness within yourself, that is where you are, not where the circumstances try to persuade you that you are, okay? So what you are aware of at the present moment, that is your reality, right? What you're conscious of right now internally, that is your reality. Consciousness is the only reality, not the facts. They're always moving and changing and molding around your inner world, right? But that inner world, in a sense, what you believe yourself to be right now, even though there is no proof by the facts, that is actually where you are. And if you remain in there, if you remain faithful and loyal to that state, right, then that will express. And so many people have difficulties in remaining in that end state, remaining in that state of the wish fulfilled. That is also where I can help you. Therefore, you can check out the 2 links in the video description and pinned comments. Okay? And again, you imagine not to get it, right? But to be it and to have it right now in the present moment, right? As you know, when you study spirituality, when you study manifesting, the only time you have is right now, right? What is the future? It's simply imagined. What's the past? It's also imagined right now from this standpoint. So what you have is only right now and right now and right now. So the best time and the best place to make changes is in the now. So you have to consciously bring your desired state in the here and now, because then, right, we learn that the external world is a confirming mirror, a reverberant mirror, an echoing mirror, so it can only reflect back to wish fulfilled, who you are within right now. All right, I really want this to make sense to you. So don't come into manifesting with this attitude, I'm using all of these tools, I'm using my imagination just quickly here and there to manipulate something. No, you have to wake up to your imagination. You have to wake up to your internal world, because where your internal world will determine where you then externally stand also. Right? It sometimes takes a while for the external mirror to catch up, but don't fight that. Don't be concerned about that. It will catch up. It has to catch up. It has to show you your inner world. But that inner world is what matters. So experience the wish fulfilled for the sake of experiencing the wish fulfilled, and not to get something eventually at some point in time. No. Let the mirror confirm and mirror back, but you focus on showing the mirror what it should reflect back to you, which is the wish fulfilled. Therefore, you have to be it for the sake of being it, and not trying to do something, do some techniques, do some visualizations, do some techniques, some hearing, some scripting, to maybe get it at some point. And you will always wait, and the mirror will show you back more waiting. Okay, so that's the first mistake. I call it the wrong attitude. So get aware of that and approach manifesting from the right attitude, which I just explained to you right now. All right, let's talk about the second mistakes that I want to point out here, which is imagining the desire itself. What does that mean? Okay, so instead of imagining something after the desire is fulfilled, instead of imagining who you are as the person that has it, people focus on the desire itself, which can lead to keeping the desired state at a distance, right? So let's talk about the wedding, for example, again, just also because Neville used this example, but it's for anything else, right? Instead of imagining the event X, where the wedding takes place, and the event, the desire itself, why not just ask yourself, how would my life look like after that? Who would I be? What would people say to me? How would I experience the world? How would I wake up in the morning? How would I, experience life now from this wish fulfilled? Not the wish fulfilled itself, right? You don't have to imagine getting the car from the dealership, right? Instead, you can imagine coming home and placing your car keys on the shelf. That implies that you are a natural owner of this car. So it's very easy. It's more natural. It's simple, right? Instead of you imagining the car in front of you, Because if you see the car and the car and the car, or the relationship, then what can happen, like I pointed out here, is that this still, keeps bringing up like euphoric emotions, and you're like, oh, it would be so great if I could have this, and I wish I could have this, and oh, this is so nice, and look at this, but you actually still separated from the wish fulfilled. You're still looking at it, thinking of it, desiring about it, which keeps the state of the wish fulfilled, and the state where you are it, where you have it still separate from you, and therefore you are not in it, and therefore you can't manifest it. It can't get reflected back to you. So choose something after the wish has been fulfilled, right? I have a video on this called Choose Your Day After. You can check this out above right now. Where you simply pick a simple act that implies that you have it. So not the moment where the desire manifests. And also Neville pointed this out, right? Here's some quotes from Neville. He said, one of the greatest pitfalls in attempting to use the law of assumption is focusing your attention on things, right? On the new home. So you visualize the new home. Instead of hearing a friend tell you, wow, like that's an amazing place. How did you got this? Right? Then you already have it. Instead of like seeing it still in front of you, you already live in there because your friend congratulates you, or you have a dinner in there. You have a party in your new home already, right? The wish has already been fulfilled. So you choose something after that, or a better job, or bigger bank account, right? Don't see those things. Ask yourself, who would I be? How would I purchase something at the store now that I'm more financially stable? Pick something after the wish is fulfilled, not the desire itself, because that is way more easy and way more natural, way easier to create this inner sense of naturalness, which is required for you to be faithful, to be certain about it. Okay? And like Neville also said, righteousness is not the thing itself, it is the consciousness, right? The feeling of already being the person you want to be, the feeling of already being the person having the thing that you want to have, right? Of already having the thing you desire. So this is your desire. Ask yourself, okay, now that I have this in my life, or if I would have this in my life, what would change afterwards? What would be different tomorrow? And then pick a simple act, pick something that would imply that you have it. So the implication, right? Imagine not the desire itself, but something that implies you have it, okay? Let's talk about mistake number 3, which is focusing too much on the details, okay? And this goes nearly like hand in hand with the previous point, but sometimes what people also do is, right, that they think, okay, I have to have the perfect imaginal act, right? I have to bring in all the details and this, and that. And I know Neville said, bring in the tones of reality, and that is true. But people then make a 10-minute mind movie, a 10-minute scene, because they think I have to have this perfect scene, including every little detail, and if I miss something, then I won't manifest it. But that is wrong, because the power of the imaginal act, the power of the inner experience that you have, of this imaginative experience, it might be the congratulation, the telephone technique, visualizing something, hearing people speak about you, using I remember when, whatever you prefer. Right, inner conversations, whatever that is, but it's about the implication. What does that imply to you? Does that imply that you have reached your goal? Right, it does not need to have so much details. It's not the act itself that's relevant. I could imagine an act where I stand in front of the mirror, I see myself smiling. Now, for me, that could imply that I'm happy, that I'm healthy, and I see my own face smiling, being happy to have such a fit and vital and healthy body, and I just love myself, and I look myself in the mirror and smile. That could be my imaginal act. And I know that this implies health for me. Now, if I would tell, or if someone from outside would see this act, they would tell me, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, what does that imply? What does that mean? And for them, that could mean that they have now, successfully just went to the bathroom, happily smiling in the mirror and looking at their own face because they made a huge business deal, right? So it's really about what does that internal act imply to you. Or if you hear congratulation, right, you know what that implies to you. If a friend of mine tells me, wow, Nicholas, like, you made it. For me, that could imply that I have, huge business success, influencing, dozens of people positively in their lives. For someone else, that could mean that they're now happily partnered, right? If a friend tells them, wow, like, you finally made it. So it's about the implication of that inner act, not the act itself. So you don't have to have millions of details. Only ask yourself, what would imply that I have it? And pick a scene that would imply that you have it. Okay? So Neville said, let me imagine a conversation which would imply a radical change in my world. The event must always imply fulfillment of the wish. Always construct an event which you believe you would naturally encounter following the fulfillment of your desire. Right? Not the desire itself, like I said before. Okay, and here it is about not bringing in too much details, but focusing on the implication. Right? That's another subtle pitfall that, again, still can lead to way better manifestations if you follow that. Let's talk about mistake 4. So mistake 4, that's also a big one. And I call it not fully satisfying your hunger. Right? What is hunger? Simply metaphorical language for upcoming desire, upcoming want for something, upcoming inner desire for a new state, for a new manifestation. So most people imagine the end, right? They get the basic principles. They hear some techniques here and there. They follow some people on YouTube. They dwell in the end state for a little while. So they maybe imagine the end, or they use I remember when, or they script, whatever they do, right? But then they go back to their current circumstances and their current reactions to life. They simply do this again, which goes back to the first point, which is using their imagination for a manipulative tool to manipulate their reality, right? Which is bullshit and wrong, right? So most people, they do all of this, and then they said, okay, yeah, I did it, and then they still keep reacting, they still keep doubting, they still keep going always back to the old state, and they wonder, why is nothing changing? Why am I still the old, right? They not fully abandon this old state, they not fully die to this old state by focusing their attention on making the new state alive until they're satisfied, until the desire is simply gone, because they now have it, they now internally are in the desired state, right? When you are internally in the desired state and in the wish fulfilled, you stop desiring, right? You stop hungering. The hunger is basically vanished, right? So important is to completely satisfy your hunger until the desire dies. Translate desiring it, thinking of it, wanting it, needing it, seeing the desired state over there, into being it, right? Shifting in it, starting to identify with having it via the means of placing your awareness on something that implies you have it. right? Via consciously applying the core principles of Neville's teachings, which I teach here and there overall on my channel, right? And when you noticed that you've fallen out of your desired state, which again might happen. I always say this, right? People are also worried, oh, I've fallen out of my desired state. I always fall out of my desired state. I can't keep staying the wish fulfilled. Okay, but what does hold you back to consciously go back in the wish fulfilled? Who is out there telling you now you have to stay in the old state? Now you can't go back in the wish fulfilled. Right? No one and nothing. There is no earthly power, no power in the universe that holds you back to go in the wish fulfilled again. So the important thing is noticing that you slipped off the desired state, noticing that you react differently and that your reactions don't match the wish fulfilled state again. Notice when you have a trigger and then use that to gently, very easily maneuver back into the wish fulfilled, right? This is not hard work. This is not suffering. Anyone that knows this principle, anyone that has applied that knows that you can always experience the inner satisfaction by simply closing your eyes and imagining the wish fulfilled again. And imagining something that implies you have it, you are it. Letting your friends see you with you having your goal. Letting your family see you with you having your goal. Letting your people congratulate you on having achieved your goal. Using I remember when, right? I remember when I was this, now I'm this. To place the current circumstances in the past and bring your awareness on the desired ones until it starts to feel natural. And if that takes a while, who cares, right? It might not happen at the first attempt. It might not happen at the 10th attempt. But as long as you bring your awareness to the wish fulfilled, bring your awareness to the wish fulfilled and constantly fill your consciousness with being it and having it, again, at some point you reach this state where you stop needing it, you stop desiring it because you simply experience it oftentimes enough within yourself to now dwell fully in the wish fulfilled state. And then, like we learned, the mirror, your life circumstances can reflect back this inner change that you made. All right, so that's mistake number 4, is to jump back and forth, right? Being double-minded, being in a state of wish fulfilled, going back, being in a state of wish fulfilled, going back, but not fully remaining in that end state, in that new identity, in that new self-concept. The final mistake, right, is trying to solve things with your mind, right? Bringing your rational mind, which thinks chronologically, which thinks from A to B to C, but which can't instantly jump from A to Z. Right, which our awareness can do. Our awareness, we can internally, instantly be in the wish fulfilled. The example I always like to give is, when you ask your mind how to be at your, desired travel location, the mind says, okay, first you have to book it. Then first you have to find a hotel. Then you have to book it. Then you have to drive to the airport. Then you have to fly the plane. Then you have to drive to a hotel. And then you can go to the beach. Then you're there, right? But with your awareness, nothing is holding you back to close your eyes and instantly feel the sand on your feet, to instantly stand in your desired environment, to instantly be at your vacation right now, right here, right? To bring the desire right now, in the here, in the now, right? And experience that satisfaction of being there, of having it. And then you will be led, then you will move across this bridge of incidents automatically. And then eventually you will say, yeah, this would have happened anyway, because you took some seemingly logical steps along the way, but it was all initialized and it started all out with you going straight to the end, right? The end is where we begin. So again, you have a desire, right? You have an internal and imaginative experience implying the end, so that you identify with the end state, implying with having it, with being it. But then what happens is that people try to control the manifestation rationally, right? They ask questions, okay, like I did this, I imagined the end, but okay, am I doing this correctly? Did this imaginal act imply everything that I want? Have I imagined long enough? Am I, doing this oftentimes enough? Then all of these questions start to rush in. And people start to look for results, right? They're trying to find out if they are believing enough in the wish fulfilled. They're trying to see movement and trying to monitor every little thing out there to see, oh yeah, I'm doing this correct. Am I doing this correct? But would you do this if you would be fully in the end already, if you would have achieved the goal already? No, it would be done for you. Nothing to worry, nothing to care. You would have achieved it. So why constantly looking? And it's like you plant a seed, and instead of letting it grow, right, because you know it is done, you're not acting as if, but you applied Neville's teachings correctly and maneuvered into the wish fulfilled until it's natural for you, until you reach this Sabbath state, this naturalness state, the state where you just know that's it, and you keep going on with life. Then it's like you plant a seed and you're constantly looking at it and trying to put it out of the earth and seeing if it already has, some roots. Stop doing that. Right? Looking for results, trying to find out if you believe if you believe enough, figuring out what actions to take. These are simply indications that you don't live in the wish fulfilled, and you're trying to solve things with your mind and bring in the mind, which will only believe it when the manifestation is there. So don't try to convince the mind. The mind is tied to the senses. It won't believe something unless it is manifested in front of you, which the senses can then perceive. But manifesting is, in a sense, disentangling yourself from what the senses show you and inwardly living in this atmosphere of the wish fulfilled, no matter what currently your senses tell you. That might take a little bit of practice, but it's very powerful. And then also oftentimes people say, like, I don't have faith. I don't have faith. Faith is a result of the subjective imaginative experience. Don't force faith. Kind of like, how do you just want to have faith in something where you have no proof for, right? But via that persistent assumption, we are consciously going back to the end internally. It will start to feel more natural. You will start to have faith because you simply experience it. You internally became aware of having achieved it. You heard the congratulation. You saw the scene that implied that you have achieved it. And with some repetition, this will feel natural, this will feel certain, and faith will simply be a byproduct of that inner experience, of you standing in the wish fulfilled inwardly. Right? Neville always spoke about the inner man and the outer man. The inner man is simply where you dwell with him, but the outer man, that's tied to the senses, to the circumstances, right? And that might take a while until it changes. But the circumstances take their cue from where you stand within. So when you move internally, then it can take a while until you're externally also there. So don't judge based on the evidence of your senses, on the facts of life, right? So again, the problem here is not internally making the end state natural, and therefore there is no manifestation, right? The manifestation won't show up if the end state isn't natural. It can only show up who you are. You don't get what you want, what you desire, what you think of, but you get who you are being, what you are identified with deep down. So again, the solution for this kind of mistake is to go into that, go to that inner experience, not with the sense of, okay, I have to perfectly get a specific feeling from that, but more so ask yourself, what would it be like? What would it be like if I would have achieved my goal right now? How would I feel? How would I see the world? How would friends, family members, colleagues, whoever is my partner, my kids, how would they see me if I would have achieved that already? And then just simply devote yourself to that inner experience, to that imaginative experience, to that wish-fulfilled state, and soak yourself in it, bath yourself in it, really soak the wish fulfilled in until you feel this relief that it is done, right? That is what your imagination, your awareness allows you to do when you do it consciously, right? But most of us, we are simply like hypnotized by what our world shows us, and we place awareness on that again, we focus on that again, and we simply get more of that. But now if you place your awareness on something that's not yet manifested, on the unseen reality, on an unseen inner state, right? Meaning you imagine an unseen inner state. You hear congratulations, you see things, you touch things, you use I remember when. That is all just simply tools to identify with that end state. As long as you do that and you really make this natural, then and you devote yourself to being that now, that is when the manifestations show up as a consequence, as a mirror of that wish fulfilled that you encountered within yourself, right? So that's it, right? These are the 5, in a sense, manifesting mistakes that usually delay people's manifestations, that they usually encounter during their manifesting journey. I think there are some more that I can point out. Maybe I can make a part 2 of that, because there's definitely more that I hear that people do encounter. So this is very important. Let me know in the comments down below if that helped you, if you found that valuable, if you have questions on that, and maybe be honest to yourself. You can also let me know if you did some of those mistakes, or if you have other mistakes that you maybe want to share with people watching and reading the comments, so that you can point them out to them so that they can manifest their goals better, right? If you need my help, if you want to have me as your friend, mentor, coach, accountability partner, simply check out the 2 links in the video description and pinned comments, where you'll find my free masterclass and my coaching program, and just apply for a call with me. We will figure out if we are a good fit, and if yes, then we can just simply work together on all of that, on your goals, on your desires, on the right framework of manifesting and of applying it consciously, correctly, so that you more and more and more so can consciously master your life. That is what I want for all of you guys. So with that, thank you for watching, and I speak to you in the next one. Bye guys. Bye.